PIK Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, because I know you were going to come on with Alex, and
Yeah.
it would have been easy to just bail out. I know you were nervous.
She was like my safety net.
Yeah.
But I think that, like, I'm okay in the spirit of pushing myself out my comfort zone. Let's do this.
Yeah, well, you rang me, and I rang Alex and said, "Cool, Caitlin, her head's falling off."
Do you know what? I was actually okay.
Oh.
I was actually okay. It was an understandable circumstance, you know. So, yeah.
So I followed you on social media for a little while, and your journey's a really interesting one, and I wanted to cover that because you were on an opiate substitute therapy, so an OST.
Yeah.
All the way through your pregnancy.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that.
So when I fell pregnant really unexpectedly. I was already on an opiate substitute. So I kind of went in to meet with the people who provide the prescriptions, and I really sort of mentally prepared myself. I thought, okay, I'm pregnant, I'm going to have to come off it. And when I went in for a meeting with them, they actually said the opposite. We do not really support people with coming off opiate substitute whilst you are pregnant. There's certain risks involved. So I was like, okay, cool. And I was told from pretty early on that when you reach kind of the second trimester of your pregnancy, you know, your blood volume is increasing with yourself, the baby, and it is totally normal to need an increase further down the line.
So what dose, sorry to interrupt there, what dose were you on when you fell pregnant? Because you went up quite significantly.
Yeah, very much so. So when I fell pregnant, I want to say I was around between the 30 and the 50 mil mark. Okay, I don't know for sure.
Not a massive amount.
Not a massive amount. But anyway.
Sorry, were you reducing to getting ready to come off it because you were in treatment? Were you in treatment, I think, weren't you?
When I fell pregnant, I was very newly clean. Okay. I just had probably about a 3-month relapse. Okay. So I wasn't kind of looking to kind of increase, decrease or come off. I was just kind of stable at that time. And when they told me that information that, okay, you may need an increase further down the line, that kind of information just went to the back of my head. I continued my pregnancy and was relatively okay until I reached the second trimester of my pregnancy and started to battle some prenatal depression. Which was quite hard because I didn't feel anything. I was just numb. I felt almost void of personality. Yeah. And I very much, you know, I was in recovery. I wasn't using substances. I very much turned to food as a way to kind of feel something. So what's worse than feeling everything? Feeling nothing. It was really horrific. And I started to use food as a way to feel something, and very quickly put on a very substantial amount of weight. So it was in the space of about 4.5 months that I gained 10 stone. No, so that's like a whole person, as well as being pregnant. And
that's a lot to do with, isn't it? Sorry to interrupt.
No, go on.
So it's a new in recovery. And I suppose, you know, we're coming to recovery and the mindset is, I'm going to reduce, I'm going to get clean. Yeah. Pregnancy comes along.
Yeah.
and then someone drops it that you're going to perhaps have to increase.
Yeah.
And it's like the opposite way to where I want to be.
Yeah, I very much felt like not in control. Yeah. And I like to be in control.
And then the massive amount of weight gain.
Yeah.
And I suppose, you know, for me, you know, when I first come into recovery, I just wanted to look good.
Yeah,
you know, I just wanted to get as far away from that image of the addict that I was.
Because like even now, I am still dealing with the hit of confidence. It was tough, and I don't think I realised quite how much it impacted me until now that I'm looking back on it, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know, I started like kind of isolating myself, and it was around that time that I left the dry house that I was in, because they could only keep me up until I was 6 months pregnant for like insurance purposes and stuff.
That's madness.
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense though, but yeah, it was like I didn't want to leave because I felt safe there.
Yeah.
And I was put into emergency accommodation by the council, and you know, I was not only placed out of area, but I was given a curfew. So all the kind of nighttime 12-step fellowship meetings that I was used to doing whilst I was in the dry house, I couldn't do, because by the time they'd finish, I wouldn't be able to get back in time for this curfew that they had.
So you were placed in supported accommodation, I'm assuming, for pregnant women?
So no, it was full of addicts pretty much. It was a B&B in Erdington.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a B&B, it was a place that used to be a B&B that was emergency accommodation from the council. There was families there, there was a lot of using addicts, and there was little old me who was placed in the room where the generator/boiler was kind of kept, and it was just clanging all hours of the night. And it was around that time that my mental health seriously took a hit. Like, I was dealing with prenatal depression as it was, but it was around that time that things got really sort of really tough, really dark. You know, I was kind of hiding away from the world because of A, the weight gain, but B, because I was kind of dealing with this curfew. But I think really, now that I think about it, I was kind of glad to have that curfew as an excuse, because I was very self-conscious about this. I mean, you're self-conscious when you're pregnant anyway, let alone with a 10-stone weight increase in a very short amount of time.
Throw early recovery in there as well. That, you know.
Yeah. It was chaos. Like, it was nuts.
I just want to go back a little bit. Yeah, I can only imagine. You know, what's that? So you're in the organisation. We won't name them. But yeah, I want to. I've got my own resentment. Yeah, I won't name them. And I want to. I need to work through that. And like, you know, you're already feeling isolated, and you know, you're not going out so much.
Yeah.
And you know, but I should imagine. Well, I know you had a bit of a network in there. You know, people that you were close to, and then you just kind of bumped into fucking crack house, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's just not okay, is it?
No, it was. There was a lot of, you know, me ringing the council every day, because I had to wait until like my application had been assessed to be able to like be awarded a band so that I could bid on properties. And every single day without fail, like, I was contacting them by like multiple methods: email, text, phone. Like, I was making sure that I was out of that B&B as quick as possible.
Oh no, I get it. Yeah,
it was just like, I mean, it made dry house living look like paradise.
What do you think could, because someone that's been in that position, you know, someone that's kind of been through that yeah, it's a quite unique journey.
Yeah.
What do you think? And I think it's important, you know, because people will watch this and go, okay, where can we improve a service? You know, where could we do better? So what do you think, you know, what could have been better for you?
I think when it came to like finding an organisation that was not only, you know, treating addiction as such, but also, you know, supporting pregnancy, to find an organisation that had them two things overlapped was really hard. Like, when I, you know, went to professionals about this prenatal depression that I was battling, they put me in touch with a charity that could provide like therapy and like signpost me to different, you know, other organisations. But they were kind of like, oh, okay, but we don't deal with people with substance use issues. So it was like, okay then, so where does that kind of leave me? I feel that, yeah, there's not too many organisations out there specifically that help pregnant women that may be early in recovery, or even people that are still actively using.
I think we're talking about, so you mentioned insurance, so we're talking about that there's it can be done. There are organisations out there that do that.
Yeah, there's got to be.
So what we're talking is financial. The reason we don't do it is because we don't want to pay the premium.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are other stuff. That's a really uneducated.
Yeah, I think finances definitely come into it. Like, I mean, if you look at addiction organisations, like how understaffed, under-resourced they are, let alone when you throw in another issue into the mix, like pregnancy or whatever, I think, yeah, there's just too many people and too few organisations.
Yeah. I think yours is really unique though. So, you know, and I've worked in services, you know, for a long time. I've worked in rehabs that have clients come in and we find out they're pregnant. You know, so we adjust the care. Yeah. We adjust so some clients need less care and some need more care. And I suppose someone like yourself, we would be like, okay, so we need to pull our resources and really up the care around this person. Yeah. You know, and it's just shit that didn't happen to you.
Yeah, I mean, it almost felt like I was very much asking for help before I got to the point of crisis. Yeah. Which was about to hit me at that point in time. But it kind of felt like things were done maybe a tad too late, but I...
By the organisation?
Well, not particularly that organisation. So just to give you more of an idea, so when I obviously put all that weight on, I started to feel really ropey in the evenings, and I was like, why is this? And then that information that I was earlier told, like, okay, your blood volume increases, you may need an increase. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay. So had an appointment with my prescriber, and they were like, yeah, we need to adjust it, because not only have you got, you know, this growing baby increasing the blood volume, you've got the 10 stone in weight extra apart from, you know, your usual weight. We need to increase it. But they were kind of really stuck with how quickly that they could do that. I mean, they can only increase a script so quickly in the community anyway, let alone when they've got a baby to look after kind of thing. So they had to do it very slowly, and it felt that I was pleading with them, please, can you not do it quicker? Because as day and day went by, it got to the point where I was withdrawing for like 16 hours of the day. That script was holding me a very short amount of time. And yeah, they were kind of, you know, I was met with, we can only do things so quickly, and I ended up relapsing. Okay,
wow. During pregnancy?
During pregnancy, and it was about 2-3 weeks in total of using throughout my pregnancy. And I remember, like, after day 2, I picked the phone up, and I rang social services on myself and grassed myself up, because it was like I've obviously at this point never had any other children, but I knew already in myself, like, this is a living human I've got inside of me. Like, I need to do something about this quick. Rang social services on myself, and the organisation that provides my script, they said, okay, we can get you into a treatment centre that specialises in the stabilisation in pregnant women.
How far gone were you when they did that?
I was 32 weeks pregnant when I went into that treatment centre, which was also just a normal treatment centre.
That's 8 months.
Yeah, I was really heavily pregnant, heavily pregnant.
And I'm not, I'm sat here and I'm listening and I'm thinking, being moved out of what is, and for people in recovery, a safe place is absolutely pivotal.
Yeah.
We go and do all this therapy, all this group work. That stuff doesn't work unless we have a safe place to go back to.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's in the hierarchy it needs somewhere. Like a safe place, so I feel safe, so I'm able to process what's going on.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just wondering whether, with the removal of that safe place, you're living in a somewhere that felt unsafe. Your support network probably felt a bit distant, although they're on the phone. It's different to human.
Yeah, I think as well. Like, I was my own worst enemy in that sense with support, because I went into that treatment centre at 32 weeks pregnant, like literally ready to drop. Like, I remember looking at myself in the mirror like, what have I got myself into here? I'm in this treatment centre that I'm the only pregnant female there. Everybody else is doing alcohol detoxes. Yeah. And I went in there and I didn't tell anybody apart from immediate family, because I was my head was like, I was so filled with shame and guilt.
Yeah.
That stopped me, even though I knew in my heart that the people that were important in my life, they weren't going to judge me yet. I still did that. I went through that alone. I
just wanted to finish what I was saying. I'm just wondering whether, and then the methadone not holding you, all that stuff put together, that's a recipe for a relapse.
Yeah.
And I know you went into a detox, 8 months. What dose did you were on a high dose, weren't you?
So they, obviously, like I said before, like, they don't decrease you, or it was pretty much to get me to a level of, they were like, we need to get you to a point where the dose is holding you for 24 hours. That will be the sweet spot. And in the just under 2 weeks I was there, they like put it up rapid. And I left that treatment centre after those 2 weeks on 120 mils of methadone. I have never been anywhere close to that before.
Some whack.
Yeah, like, and it wasn't even just that. Look, I was thinking, how is this going to affect my baby? Yeah. They assured me that, like, it's not going to, like, it's going to be fine, but potentially when you have your son, like, he could show signs of withdrawal. And obviously then I've not only just got the shame and guilt about everything that's happened that's led up to this point, then I'm worrying, like, damn it, like, what have I done? What have I done? But I will say, when I went into that treatment centre, it was only then that I began to feel like I could actually get that fire back in my belly for recovery, and started to get excited for what was to come. I was like, okay, I could pull this back, I can do it.
Yeah.
I had social services telling me that, like, it's been 3 weeks of your pregnancy. As long as you pull this back, it's going to be all right.
So they were supportive, social services?
I wouldn't go that far. Like, and it was later then that, I got myself back into, like, I left that treatment centre, got the keys to my flat, done it all up, got everything ready for Marley's arrival. And when I went in for my elective C-section, because Marley was weighing on the bigger scale, like, that made sense because I'd just gained 10 stone, like, it made sense. But they were like, we need to make sure he's okay. Do you want a C-section or do you want to have a vaginal birth? I was like, just have the C-section if he's measuring on the bigger side. And 5 days before that was scheduled, I received the worst phone call that I have ever received in my life to this day. And it was the social worker who was on the brink of tears herself, if not in tears, I couldn't quite tell through the phone. And she was like, Caitlin, my management are not satisfied with the plan. We're going to start court proceedings for your child to be removed. He's not going to go home from the hospital with you. And I had to pass the phone to my mum. I couldn't talk, I couldn't breathe. Like, it felt like all the air had escaped from my lungs.
So we just went straight to that. No child in need assessment, no CP.
I had a pre-birth assessment, but that was when it was deemed like, okay, you know, we've got lots of protective factors involved. Like, your mum's going to move in with you. Like, my mum was not going to stand for anything, any harm coming to my child. Like, the social worker was more than comfortable and happy with that decision, but it was her management, who I'd never met, that made that decision. And it just felt like, I felt so angry, because I was like, I just started to get excited. I just started to feel that hope back. No
child protection meeting, no strap meeting.
There was like pre-proceedings meeting. I actually had the pre-proceedings meeting whilst I was in treatment, where it was deemed like, okay, if you pull this back, there's going to be no need for court proceedings.
So at what point do they notify you that it's public law outline is what they call it when they go for court proceedings? But what?
It was literally like they were like, it was like, it was all, I felt like a criminal. Like, I felt like, hang on a minute, this feels like, okay, it's necessary for them to have some kind of intervention, but it felt inhumane the way it was gone about. It was just like, and I had never experienced any kind of social services court. I didn't know how it worked. I was told on that phone call, your son isn't leaving that hospital with you. I then had to get a solicitor, where the solicitor told me, like, no, it's not. Like, what will happen is you will have an emergency court hearing when your son is born. It has to be, like, your child has to be born first. And then it will be decided, like, the judge will decide what happens. And I walked into that hospital not knowing whether I was leaving with my child, and how I managed to just leave that at the door and focus on having him was like, I don't think I'd ever really believed in a power greater than myself before that point, but I was just like astounded by like my strength to be able to do that. And I don't know, I just felt guided. And Marley was born and he was perfect. He was 11 pound 3, he was a big boy, and by the grace of God, born on, you know, his mum on 120 mils of methadone. The kid didn't withdraw.
Good. Yeah, because there's no guarantees it's going to cross the...
but I was like, I was really glad. Like, okay, that's the first hurdle. Like, that's the hurdle. Like, he's here, he's healthy, he doesn't need any kind of neonatal intervention. Like, he's okay. They were obviously going to monitor him because that could change, but, you know, that's the first hurdle. And then when Marley was a day old, I had to attend court via video link. Like, I'd just had a C-section. I was in no fit state to go to court in person.
Stuff.
I attended court via video link, and from the minute that court hearing started, like, I was just sobbing, like, and I was just, please God, just go well. And the judge agreed that it didn't meet the threshold for separation. Like, and yeah, he was coming home with me, and I swear to God, even sitting speaking on this now, I could feel the relief in my body. And that's what it's like now. And I was living it. It was like I'd just taken the first breath it felt like I'd taken for months. But like, I was going to be under the very close, like, watchful eye. And I think in a way that was needed. I think I needed that, like...
I get it.
Yeah.
Do you know, it just feels... you know, like I worked with social services. You know, I delivered training on substance misuse to social workers. You know, and you know that order would never have been granted. There's just not enough evidence, you know. But to put you through that, it just, I'm not saying it would never have been granted. Okay, maybe you know, I don't know what the numbers is, but maybe on occasions it would have. But just to put you through that,
yeah.
You know, and I wanted to come back because you said, and you answered it. You know, and because I'm sure social services would have been supportive, and I'm sure there were ways in which they weren't, and I suppose this is because there will be some social workers that will watch this. Yeah, and I don't know what level they're at, but it's an opportunity for, you know, people that watch the pod, professionals, to go away and reflect. You know, how can we improve our service?
Yeah,
you know, what do we do well and what do we not do well?
I actually went down the formal complaints procedure because I was like, okay, like I say, you know, I'm not for a second saying that they shouldn't have been involved. 100% should have.
Yeah.
However, the way in which things were gone about, like giving me that hope to cling on to after leaving that treatment centre, like it's all going to be okay. And then 5 days before I go in to have him, you're telling me via phone at 7 o'clock on an evening that my child is not going home from the hospital with me. And I just thought, okay, they can change anything going forward. It's how that all happened.
So it seems quite an inhumane way to do it.
Yeah.
And just be more person-centred.
It was just, and you know what, I feel that was my like first and only experience with social services. And I feel that there was a couple of amazing social workers that I had interactions with, but there was also social workers that didn't have a clue what they were talking about when it came to addiction. And it's like for
go back to the ones that because I think it's important with it's balanced. The ones that you had good interactions with, you know, what did they do? What did they bring that made you think these are good at their job?
I think it was just like they just, I don't know, it was like there was this one lady, she was like the first social worker that came and did like the first initial assessment, and to this day, like I'll still message her and keep her up to date. And she, because I had the appointment and it was at my mum's address, and even my mum speaks of her to this day, she just came into my mum's house and she was just a person. She wasn't a social worker. She didn't only act as a human, a mother herself, and a social worker. She treated me, a pregnant female, as a person and saw me for the individual that I am. I wasn't just a case number such and such. And I think again it's another sort of sector that is extremely under-resourced, understaffed, underfunded, and that is evident in a lot of the social workers. They're just coming in to get boxes ticked. And there was one social worker that we had, and it was like I had to relay information to her like 3 times over because
you weren't reading case notes.
Yeah, like it was just, and it was like I ended up feeling for them. I ended up feeling for them, like
I get you.
I ended up feeling sorry for them in this circumstance. Like, they're probably really like, no, I'm the one that needs to be cared for here, and not more importantly, my baby. Like he's at the forefront of all this, not me. But yeah.
Wow. Okay, so let's go back to the rehab. So, and again, so you were there for 2 weeks. It just seems like fucking chaos. Do you know what I mean? And you know, you're pregnant, all this shit going on with a dry house and whatever that was. I'm struggling not to name them. It's like there. But because I think it's shit that you were treated like that, really shit.
Yeah.
You know, and for what? Just to spend some more money on insurance. I'm going to have to leave that because I'm going to get myself into trouble. And then you withdrawal, you know, and then going into rehab for 2 weeks, you know, and there are rehabs for, and there are mother and baby units. So that would have been a nice way to go.
And it's like that treatment centre that I was in, I'd heard of them before. They were amazing.
Yeah.
They were like incredible.
Did you ever sort of, and I know the answer already, but I was just thinking when you were there, did you think, oh, how come they're able to increase my methadone so quickly, but yet in the community?
Yeah, it was quite frustrating, but I could understand it at the same time. But it felt like in the community, it was, I don't know, and I don't know whether it was because I was living it and I was uncomfortable for a large percentage of the day, and meanwhile I'm being told that a decrease or a detox of any kind could harm my baby, and every single day I'm living with that stress, like, hang on a minute, is he kicking?
Oh wow,
it was incredibly frustrating. And I think, like I was saying to, you know, a couple of these before, like, it's only now I'm starting to process just how chaotic and traumatic my pregnancy was. Like, I was in that treatment centre, hadn't told any of my friends that I was going in there. Like, I was being, you know, increased on my methadone, yet still feeling withdrawal each day. I was 10 stone heavier, meanwhile carrying my first baby, new in recovery. Like, I was like, how in God's name have I gotten here? And I've had a few of those moments throughout my life, but that was the one that was like, whoa. It was nuts.
It's just like, you think, oh, pregnancy, you know, and I suppose, you know, because you came into recovery when you got pregnant, and or you were in recovery, and it's like, it tests your faith. You know, really, is this how it goes? You know, like, because and I get it myself. You know, when I'm in recovery and I think I got clean, and then my life just turns up, and it's like, fucking hell, really?
Do you know what? There's like many things that, like, you know what, I feel like really angry at myself. Like, you know, I got onto class A's when I, you know, come out of uni. Like, there's many things that I've messed up, right? I fell pregnant and I was like, I can't let this be one of those things, because I saw it in my brain. Like, I could see it playing out in front of me. It can go this way, and, you know, yeah, okay, you may make a few mistakes. You're not perfect, like, but it can be okay. Or you can end up losing this baby to the system and never letting yourself live a moment's peace again, because you're going to be eaten up by this guilt and shame. And even now, that is something that drives me to make sure that I am doing the best that I can, because I've got this little life that I've created out of a little bit of chaos here and there. Like, he's perfect, and I would go through it all 1,000 times over again for him. Like,
I've seen him.
He's just. I've
seen him eating. He's learning to eat.
Oh God, he's so messy. He's so messy, and he's the light of my life.
Now I get it.
And he's just like, you know, I saw a quote the other day, and it was like, you know, in years from now, your child is going to sit across from somebody and speak about their upbringing, like make sure it's a story worth telling.
Yeah.
And I know, and I think we all know in recovery, like we know firsthand how much those early years play a part in our lives. Like there's studies about it, it's fact. And I know that I've got that little boy's childhood in my hands. And I've just got to do the damn thing. I can do it angry, I can do it hurt, I can do it happy. I've just got to get up. And I have just got to make sure that I'm doing the right things.
And you're doing it on your own.
And pretty much, like, he's and this is something that I didn't think was going to happen. I thought I was going to be totally alone in this, in all aspects. But not only have my friends and family, picked up the fact that Marley is in effect a one parent in a one parent household, but Marley's dad is in his life now, and
he is.
That's
cool.
Marley's dad's been in his life from pretty early on, to be fair, from when he was about 8 weeks old. But I was very cautious in kind of. I thought. He's not going to be dependable. And Marley's dad isn't an addict, but he hasn't necessarily lived the greatest ways of life either.
Yeah, he's got his own stuff.
But Marley, like, that little kid is so powerful because not only has he got a mother who wants to change for him, but his dad has also done that. His dad is somebody that, like, who is this guy? Because I don't know him. Sees him twice a week. He hasn't let him down yet. He knows not to as well. But no, like, I honestly, like, didn't. I was saying to my best friend,
He knows
like,
not to now.
Oh yeah, for real. Like, I was saying to my best friend, like, I did not have this on the cards whatsoever. That, his dad was gonna be in his life and he was going to be dependable and he was going to be this good role model. And he does see him twice a week. So, I mean, it's twice a week for 2 hours, so 4 hours a week. Those other hours, I do still very much feel like a single parent, even though he does have a dad involved. We're not together. It's not going to happen. But I am glad that we are able to co-parent effectively. I was sitting back the other day and I was reading through some of our messages and I'm like, I was just really proud of us. Like, we're communicating well, we're co-parenting effectively. We've got it under control. Got it under control.
Yeah, I like the fact that you said, it's kind of not going to happen, because I think, I've got children of my own. When I co-parent and we start to get along really well, I can get that confused for, we get along really well, and really it's just.
Yeah, I think, do you know what? Like, I grew up in a home where I had parents in a very dysfunctional relationship. They weren't together, but they lived together. And that created a real hostile living environment at times. And I just know that I want to show my son that I don't need to force things. It's okay. Like, me and his dad, we can get along, but I don't want to force something that is not there for the sake of, saying, he's got two parents that live under the same roof and are together, because at what cost is that going to come at? Because it's not going to be a happy relationship. It's not going to be a meaningful relationship. It's so, I think co-parenting, like, you said, I think it's been a challenge, but it's something that's really rewarding. It is really rewarding. They're just navigating it, two people that are navigating it for the first time. And, there's times there's times when I've acted really unhinged and like sending, you know, these really like off-key messages like, how dare you, when it's actually, it's me that's really misunderstood something, and I've had to hold my hands up. I've had to hold my hands up to be like, yeah, sorry, I misunderstood that.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of...
That's good you can own that. And
yeah, I've got to, man.
I don't know if that's a recovery thing or whether, you know, but yeah, you know. What are you laughing at?
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it's just a human thing. We're all a bit fucked. And
we are,
just
and that's
do stuff
okay.
And we react. Yeah, and it is okay.
Yeah,
it's absolutely okay.
It is very much okay.
Yeah.
And I think there's definitely power in being able to say that.
What does he do when you send them unhinged messages, as you put it?
What's that?
What does he do when you send the unhinged messages?
Do you know what? So he's somebody who has known me in addiction. So that's nothing.
Yeah.
That is nothing. Trust me to what that man has seen, yeah? And to be fair, he's pretty laid back. He's pretty, you know, he doesn't really react to things, which is good.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, am, you know, the opposite and can get quite fiery.
I can imagine.
But yeah, considering he's known me in active addiction, like those unhinged messages, they were tame.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So I want to jump before we go to get some questions. I want to talk about you did your detox. I saw it, you know, I think that's when I first came across you. I was like, wow, man, you know, because what caught my attention was your substitute. You were detoxing on your TikToks.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, man, this girl's out there. You know, she's detoxing in front of everyone.
And do you know what? Like when I was in the organisation that shall not be named, as Dan says, I got very caught up in people's opinions and scripts and the stigma around it, and very much took it to heart. And since becoming a mum, I have become sort of very okay with my decisions and sure of myself and okay with that. And I think that was one of those things that when Marley was, the first 6 months, I was just like, okay, breathe, going through all that stuff with social services. Yeah. And then when Marley was 6 months old, we had the final hearing and the judge closed the case. Done. Haven't heard of them since, thank God. That was a massive achievement. But I was like, okay, right, I'm going to start reducing, not in any rush. Started chipping away at it and started to be quite vocal vocal about that on social media.
Did you feel you couldn't do that when you were under the, I suppose, the umbrella of social services? Did you feel you couldn't be as vocal as what you were after?
I think with social services, I didn't want it to be something that they could use as ammunition, if I'm being totally honest. Oh, well, you know, we've got to watch it for a bit longer, because I knew that, like, okay, if I'm making the decision to do this, it's because I'm good with it, like I'm okay. But one thing with me is like I was like, I want to do it really slowly, because I was very sort of aware that I had this little baby, you know, so I didn't want to be having sleepless nights or anything like that. Right, I'm doing it slowly, there's no rush. And yeah, I started to be quite vocal about it on social media after watching one of my social media friends, one of my TikTok friends who I've never met, but we speak regularly. She's in recovery, and she started documenting her journey on coming off methadone. She's off it now. She's like 80 days clean. She's done amazing. And she sort of like, I was like, okay, I'm going to start being, you know, more vocal about it on social media, because I was very okay with me being on a script, and it was like, whereas before when I was in that organisation, I was so sensitive, I couldn't take people's opinions. But now it's very different. It's like I can see that people have certain views on it, and that's okay. Two things can coexist. Like, I can have my opinion, but other people can have theirs. But yeah, like I just started to chip away at it, and up until very recently, it was something that, you know, I said on social media that I was very okay with, once I'd gotten down to like the, you know, the very bottom percentage of, you know, gotten well away from 120, 180 mils, you know, like we had gotten right down. I was like, okay, I'm going to pause. And I was like, I said to my best friend, you know what? I'm living my truth. Like, I have no interest on coming off it yet. And that felt really empowering to say.
Yeah.
But really empowering to just say, yeah, I've got no interest in coming off it yet. And then recently, I went abroad with my mum and Marley. And we went away, and obviously, as you know, when you go abroad, you can't take a liquid in your hand luggage. You've got to get the tablets, and then you've got to sort out scripts. And it was only then that it began to feel like, oh, you know. And it was only when we were coming back from Lanzarote, we were on this plane, and I'd taken the last dose, and I had to pick up. We landed on the night, and I had to pick up the next script the next morning. So I had nothing on me. And I thought, shit, like, if this plane had to make an emergency landing now in a different country, I would be stuffed.
Yeah.
And it was only then I started thinking, I think it's time. I think it's like, and when I start thinking like that, maybe it's time to start exploring life off it.
What made you do it on TikTok, you know, kind of, and document it, so to speak?
I think just seeing, from having documented my, you know, other aspects of my recovery on social media, just having this, I think social media, there can be a real curse to it, but there can also be a real blessing to it. And I ended up with a real community of people who were either doing it themselves, were just in recovery, had just gotten off it, were on it, or were actively using, maybe seeking advice. And it just became this little community, and people that I still check in with daily. We've never met. I call them friends, and, you know, I always feel the need to, like, preface it with, like, social media friends. They're just friends, like, you know, it's really, it's a beautiful thing.
Do you know what I found? You know, because I think about the weatherman, and I do a post, you know, like, and I'm always posting about, you know, oh, I'm thinking about this. But by the time I get to a meeting, I've got fuck all to say, and I'm listening. I've noticed I used to go to meetings and feel this, like, need to share or need to speak. Or, but what I've noticed now, I go into meetings and I'm just happy to listen.
Do you know
get
what?
A bit more out of it.
I can really relate to that, and I can think, like, I lost a lot of my, but not, I wouldn't say a lot, but I lost a chunk of my confidence with the pregnancy, with the weight gain. I have since, you know, I've lost 6, nearly 7 stone. Like, I've been working towards, you know, getting back to my pre-pregnancy weight. But nevertheless, I'm here. I'm 6, 7 stone lighter, but I'm still, my confidence has taken a hit. And that has affected my sort of ability to share in meetings, but that has not been necessarily a bad thing, because I think before I was in ways too sure of myself, and I'd sit in meetings and people would be sharing and I wasn't listening to them. I was thinking about what I was going to say. Me. And I think social media comes with an aspect of that, you know, it's kind of, maybe there's a level of, like, being, you know, self-absorbed, self-centered in it, but it has the benefits, man, because I'm sitting in meetings and I am listening. And then when I am speaking, it's because I'm speaking from not having planned what I'm saying. And that has come to, like I was saying to Chad before, you know, I was like, Alex did a main share at the meeting, and you know, I brought my mum to the meeting, like my mum come and sat in a meeting, which was a really beautiful experience. And I'll go to share back to Alex, this person who's so important to me, and my brain's just blank. And it was a new experience for me, and it was really uncomfortable.
I think there's huge benefits to it. You know, I shared my relapse, you know, and I shared me getting clean, going into a dry house, and by doing that, you know, I don't know what's happened, but I don't think I'd be doing the podcast now. You know, had I not done that. I don't want to say I would have relapsed. I don't know. You know, I just know that what I did worked.
It gives people an outlet.
Yeah.
And I just think that, like, when like, it's funny. Like, I had, like, an old boss who is in recovery, and he used to say to me, go and make your sad little videos in your room on your own, like, you know, making fun.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And it's like, them silly little videos get me paid today.
Yeah.
Like, that feels cool. I feel like messaging him and saying, guess what?
You send him a screenshot.
Guess what? But no.
You've had some views. How many views? Go for it. Let's throw some numbers out.
So I only began to start being able to monetize off TikTok when I hit 10,000 followers.
Yep.
So TikTok is one of the platforms that apparently pays the least, but it's the only platform I monetize on. But it's extra income. So they essentially, you get an RPM, which is a number of, so for example, it will rate anywhere between 50 and say 60p, and that will be what you will get paid per 1,000 views, but they have to be qualifying views. But all it takes is for one video per month to blow up.
Didn't I see a video, 3.2 million, you went to bed and you woke up in the morning, I'm sure it was you. You woke up in the morning, there was like millions of views on it.
Yeah, see, the thing is with TikTok, like, I've had videos that have done like millions and millions, but they're not over a minute long, so you can't monetize off them. But I had a video last month, because you get paid a month after, so you get paid for January and February. And I had one video that went mad, 550 quid, you know. That's 550 quid a month extra. That's basically going in Marley's pocket.
TikTok after this, you know. He's been telling me to do TikTok for months.
But honestly, like, TikTok, listen, I live, eat and breathe TikTok. I love it. No, but seriously, I am trying to put it down a little bit more, because I can get a little bit obsessive around it, and then when I notice myself doing that, I tend to step away. But no, do you know what? It's like whatever comes from TikTok, whether it's like money, whether it's, you know, connections, whether it's like friendships, it is all things I wouldn't have had without it. It's a bonus, you know. And because it's not my like sole income, it's not my income, there's no stress around it.
No,
if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And that way, it's not like, you know, you see some creators where it is there, like, if they don't get paid, they're not getting their mortgage and stuff like that. And they can get really sort of beat down around it. So it's a hobby, and it's a really fun one at that.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
I think we'll go to where are we at the time, Aaron?
55 minutes.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, we've talked. It's not like us.
It's not, is it?
So, do you want to do some questions, mate?
Really?
Yeah. Who's got a question? Chaz.
I've got a question.
We'll grab the mic. Chad's bound to have a question.
I think I'll give me a morning. Have you had your knee book?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we do. Give him the
His
mic.
voice is loud enough.
No, it'll sound shit, and then I'll moan at him, and And then
I won't hit. So don't worry, just talking to it and I'll pick it up. Yeah.
he'll ignore my calls for a day.
Okay.
I can't believe we're at 55 minutes.
That's mad. You said it'd go like that.
Just,
Am I good now? Right. Caitlin, well
Jed.
done for sitting there 55 minutes battling through all your nerves and your
Thank
anxiety.
you.
I think it was a great discussion. I can't lie and say that I sit there for 55 minutes and always watch the PIK Podcast on Facebook when it does come on my feed. But I've just had to sit here for 55 minutes and listen to it. And but you know what, mate, humbling. And the way you recount your experience is brilliant. I think you performed great, and well done for getting through it. And I think one of the things that stood out for me was when you said you grassed yourself up to social services. I can only assume from that point that you was fairly compliant and forthcoming around your issues, and you engaged. You leaned into various institutions for support, and then the moment when you get that call to suggest, well, hang on a minute, this might not actually go your way.
Yeah.
And I work in institutions, not social services, but I observe a lot of service users that in that position, they would pull in the opposite direction. They wouldn't comply.
Yeah.
They wouldn't comply because they'd simply think that they're the enemy. They're not there for their support.
Yeah.
And I see that regularly, to their own detriment. They don't comply with services. They're stuck in their own ways of doing things, their own resolve, and they ain't doing very well. So what would you say, and there's many of them out there, how did you overcome that? It's more or less tantamount to a betrayal, yet you still stayed put. You didn't know you was going to get a positive outcome, but that's what transpired to be. Fear, distrust, whatever these people's motivations are for not engaging, not being compliant, not accessing the support that would be critical for them. What could you say to give somebody the confidence to just stay put, stay the course?
Do you know what? I think it's tough because at times I was really kicking myself, like, why did I do that? I shouldn't have done it. I knew I shouldn't have done it. But I still sit here, like, right now, even having gone through all I went through with social services, I still, like, I don't agree with a lot of the ways that they do things, but I still would say that I made the right call, because had I not, it was like you have to look at the lesser of two evils. Like, yes, it might be really difficult to grass yourself up or whatever and seek support from an organisation, but what's the other outcome here? And for me, the other outcome was that potentially my child was going to end up being born addicted to illicit substances, and then, you know, being taken from his mum and having attachment issues, you know. That wasn't going to happen, couldn't happen. And for that to not happen, I knew I had to seek support. And as hard as it was, and at times, I think you just have to do it. You just have to take the leap. And if when, you know, further down the line, things don't work out, then they don't work out. But what if they do? What if they do work out? Yeah, like, seek the support.
Question. Anyone else?
Yeah. Thank you, Chad.
No, thank you.
Cool.
Thank you for sharing your story, Caitlin. It was really inspiring, and I thought it was really brave, and I really got a lot from it. But I just wanted to know, like, with the TikTok or sharing, like, your detox, box on like, did you get any negative comments, and if you did, like, how did you kind of like combat it?
I not necessarily like surrounded. I can't recall exactly by that. Like, I've had some not nice comments in the past, but to be fair, like, it's say like 1 in 100 comments of somebody, you know, being funny, or, you know, talking about the weight gain, or this, that and the other, or it's somebody that's not clued up on addiction, and addiction is a choice, this, that and the other. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it hasn't affected me, because at times it has. But for the most part, I think I just, yeah, like I said earlier, like, I am sure in myself, and I'm sure in my choices, and I'm comfortable today with who I am and my past and the choices and mistakes that I have made. I am okay with that. So that there's very few things that some faceless account on the internet can say that's going to provoke any kind of emotion. But for the few that do, I have to take myself away from it for a little bit, because I have to go outside and touch grass, because as much as I love social media, it's not reality.
Touch grass.
Yeah, like, do you know what? And there's an app that's come out today, and it's called Touch Grass, and it's an app that will lock your phone after a certain amount of time of you being on social media, and you physically have to go outside and take a picture of you touching grass for it to unlock your phone.
I don't know if I'm ready for all that.
I think it's brilliant.
Nah,
I think it's great.
You watch by the end of the night, I'll have that app downloaded forcefully.
Because I think it is really important to disconnect from it, because it's not reality, and
Good question.
Yeah,
Good
I think
answer.
it's a great question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Yeah, Caitlin, anyone else got any questions before we no?
Sure.
Louise?
It's so nice to meet you, and
Nice to
it's
meet
unbelievable, your story really is. I was just actually wondering, have you ever thought about where you would be now if you hadn't got pregnant?
Do you know what? I do, and I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And I think there's many ways like Marley has saved me, but honestly, like, one of the ways indirectly he's saved me is by I spent my 20s doing what I'm gonna call the dry house shuffle, to organisation, rehab to dry house, rehab to dry house, rehab to dry house. And falling pregnant got me out of that, almost. Like, it did, because I don't think I would have had the courage and the guts to leave supported accommodation to go into emergency accommodation in order to you know, get housing. I do think 100% that Marley has bettered my life.
Saved your life.
Very much so. And I say that. I say that regularly. Like, yeah, that he's a very special little boy. Yeah, he's very, very special.
Yeah, so are you.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to meet you.
And you.
Caitlin, thank you. Yeah, I wasn't sure how it was going to go.
Thank you.
It was a bit like, you know, my friend. I've just been told my friend passed away.
Yeah.
And friends to lots of people here, you know. So you know, and you know, and that obviously pulled people in rightfully in different directions, you know. And I know, you know, we're all kind of friends. It's a small community.
Yeah, and I think that kind of highlights like what we're dealing with here.
Absolutely.
Because I can forget that quite often. Like I lost one of my best friends, Jade, in 2022, and I think about her every day. And even then, I still forget just how serious this is. But yeah, it's tragic.
Yeah, I've been a little bit on autopilot, and I had a little cry before I came on, and just, you know, because you know, I got close to him over the last few months.
Yeah.
And
He took your face on holiday with him.
Yeah, he did, bless him. Yeah, well, you know. Yeah, thank you for making the space and coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I think it's been a good one.
I've really enjoyed myself. I was really nervous, but again, like I think that's a good thing for me.
I didn't even know what I was going to talk about. You know, Erin just said.
I know I had lots to say because I knew that my pregnancy was a wild ride, to say the very least. But yeah, like being a mum in recovery is like the most empowering thing I've ever done. It's amazing.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Thank you.